You see, for thousands of years, this mountain has been a center for pagan worship. But my question is, what exactly happened there? Well,
I really don't think you're ready for what I'm about to present in this video.
I hope everyone knows this logo. Did you know that there was a hidden meaning behind this logo?
And here is Tartaria's old map. So it could be a strong possibility that we are looking at the capital of Tartaria. You got Hollow Earth and Sheol. So it's they definitely operate under our feet. Look down under your feet. A whole different world under there.
And so if you have your plate carrier made out of sapphire, it shatters bullets. It's unbelievably effective. Been using it in tanks and helicopters as armor for a long time. But it literally says that this 100 million creature hybrid army has sapphire plate armor. And I'm like, well, dang, how do you penetrate sapphire armor? And I'm like, tungsten.
I don't believe what I got in this box. You better lock in and buckle up, bucko, because you're in for another creepy and scary TikTok reaction video. You want to be careful on these scary, disturbing, weird, strange theories because they might just change your reality and keep you up the entire night. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button because today we're diving deep on these waters. Now lock in and buckle up. And remember, this video is for entertainment purposes only. It is up to us to do our own research and separate the fact from the fiction. Without further ado, let's dive into today's video.
I really don't think you're ready for what I'm about to present in this video. And it all starts in the most unlikely of places. A place they want us to think is nothing but a third world wasteland. But in reality, it's a place fit for a king. Well, maybe not a king, but definitely an angel. 200, as a matter of fact, 200 fallen angels. And while they create propaganda like Borat to keep us from knowing who actually lives here and what this place actually is, I figured it out. I figured out that the top of their pyramid just happens to have a secret meeting chamber with exactly 200 perfectly aligned seats. 200 perfectly aligned seats that just perfectly matches the amount of fallen angels talked about in the Book of Enoch. 200 that just almost perfectly matches the amount of impact craters that, I don't know, could have been caused from heavenly bodies crashing down to Earth. Heavenly bodies whose leader just happens to also be called Lucifer or the Light Bearer. The Light Bearer whose torch is often celebrated across all of the large cities of the world, and whose torch who is oddly placed next to a giant Easter egg. An Easter egg that might actually reveal why eggs are associated with Ishtar, because Easter was originally the celebration of Ishtar, the Assyrian and Babylonian goddess of fertility and sex. And maybe this city is also hiding the free energy that they're using, because I've seen these exact buildings associated with the old dirigibles that used to charge from them. But we haven't even talked about the most interesting thing that I found in this city called Istana, which just happens to be an anagram for the word Satan, and it's just down the road from this pyramid. Or should I say, right down the river from this pyramid. And I'm going to take this time and say, all of this is pure speculation. Obviously, there could be other stories here, but too many of them line up to me. Way too many of them. Especially when you see what I found here. And it's what I started this video with. You look at this, and you tell me that doesn't look like some sort of portal. A portal that they might just be using to try to summon some real evil to this place we live. Or maybe even just a prop to propagate their fake summoning of the return of Jesus as a hologram. All I know is there's one thing I definitely know in all of this, is that this movie was created with intention to tell a vision of what this place actually is. Because I would put my money on it that 99% of you have never heard of the city in Kazakhstan called Astana. But you guys know I'm just kidding about all this. I don't really think 200 fallen angels are the actual controllers of this place we live. That's just silly. And I definitely don't think they build an egg and a light-bearing torch to worship anybody. Totally not. You guys know I just love to entertain you and create these fairy tales and stories of evil versus good that they don't really exist. I don't really believe in Satan and Lucifer and all the fallen angels.
Astana? I was getting Turkmenistan vibes. Oh, we gotta dive into Astana. Are you kidding me? What is Astana? What is Astana? Astana is known for its modern buildings, including skyscrapers often called the City of the Future. The city's architecture blends elements of Europe's, Central Asia, and the East. As a seat of the government of Kazakhstan, Astana is a site of the Parliament House, Supreme Court, aka a presidential place, and numerous government departments and agencies. Its home is ranged to futuristic buildings, including many skyscrapers.
Satana. Did you ever heard about a city called Astana? So here is Satana. Satana. Right, let's zoom in. It is the capital city of Kazakhstan. And there are some interesting buildings I want to share with you. This looks like a phoenix, right? And if you turn this over, it looks like an O, right? Giant pyramid. Impressive. Astana. Huh, here. See this here? Looks like a portal, right? Here there's just a torch, right? From the light bringer. And here, those antennas, many buildings from the past. Some maybe think that they could use the energy out of the ether. This looks like Yachim and Boaz, right? Kazakhstan. Phoenix, here's the phoenix, right? From the ashes. This just the phoenix.
Satana. Are you kidding me? Where is this located on the map? Alright, now I'm looking for Astana's mountains because there was a mountain range behind it. And now I'm curious about where these angels fell from heaven. So
story. Mount Hermon has a very mysterious story. A story which led humanity to worship the false gods of the ancient world. You see, for thousands of years, this mountain has been a center for pagan worship. But my question is, what exactly happened there? Well, Mount Hermon is actually found in this most interesting book. It's called the Book of Enoch. See, in this book, it talks about this group of fallen angels who came down to Earth. And interestingly, they would have landed on a mountain called Mount Hermon. You see, they came down to Earth for only one reason, and that was to find for themselves wives. This was obviously a highly severe crime against God. So it turns out that the very leader of the fallen angels, Semyaza, gets scared. He didn't want to take all the blame for leading his angels astray. So in response, the fallen angels bind themselves together in a mysterious oath. No angel could back out of this plan anymore. Now, fast forward to 1896, when this British explorer finds this ancient pillar on Mount Hermon. Conveniently, he finds these Greek inscriptions talking about an oath. It says, according to the great and holy God, those who take an oath proceed from here. But here's the interesting part. The God in this text is not the God of the Bible. The God in this text is actually the false god, Baal. See, there are over 30 ancient temples found in this specific area alone, which were used by the Canaanites and the Romans for pagan worship. Even the United Nations has a base here. You see, the fallen angels landed specifically on Mount Hermon, and it was there where they would become the false gods of the ancient world. Mount Hermon has a very mysterious...
is that the one behind Kazakhstan or whatever? and Astana? Please tell me that's not the same one.
Interesting facts. Mount Hermon, the highest United Nations base in the world, sits on the peak of Mount Hermon, which is where the fallen angels landed according to the Book of Enoch. This is where the UN got their color blue from, as fallen angels were also Hindu gods which were blue. In year 1666 of all years, Louis XIV of France declared the meridian points were 33.33 degrees east by 33.33 degrees north of the equator sits Mount Hermon. Keep in mind a third of the angels fell from heaven, or 33.33. Also, 33 is an important number in Freemasonry. It's also interesting that Hermon means forbidden place in the Encyclopedia of Britannica.
In 1869, on the summit of Mount Hermon, located in Israel, British explorer Sir Charles Warren came across an ancient rectangular temple, which is the highest temple in the ancient world, coming in at 9,232 feet above sea level. In the temple, he found a limestone stele, which may be the only extra biblical and pagan memorial stone dedicated to the fallen angels, called the Watchers, which according to the Book of Enoch made an oath with one another and teach mankind the forbidden secrets of heaven. This is the story of Charles Warren and the lost temple of Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon is a mountain range located in Israel. Its summit straddles the border between Syria and Lebanon, and at 2,814 meters above sea level, it is the highest point in Syria. On the top, in the United Nations buffer zone, between Syrian and Israeli occupied territories, is the highest permanently manned UN position building in the world, known as the Hermon Hotel, located at the summit. The southern slopes of Mount Hermon extend to the Israeli-occupied portion of the Golan Heights, where there is currently. In 1869, on the
For my birthday this year, I decided to go to Mount Hermon in the Santa Cruz Felton area. I love a good adventure and I love nature, so this was the perfect combination activity for me. After you check in, they give you all of the supplies that you need and you go over a video and some quick instructions, get a pair of gloves, and head on over to the course. There's 3 different difficulty levels and you can go at your own pace and what you're comfortable with. To get from each course, you have to click these things on and off and they'll teach you how to do that. As you can see here, I am struggling, but it was so much fun even though it was challenging. If you like rock climbing, this is definitely something that you'd enjoy. I did not film the harder levels because I was hanging on for my dear life, and that required my entire focus and attention. There's also a bunch of zip lines, which are my absolute favorite. Overall, I loved this experience and would highly recommend it. For my birthday this year.
What's up, brothers and sisters? I hope everyone knows this logo. Did you know that there was a hidden meaning behind this logo? So let's break it down. We have fallen angels fallen from heaven, hovering over the waters, just like the Spirit did. And what are they doing? They're congregating around a mountain. Now, where do we get that from? And how many stars are right there? The Book of Enoch speaks about 22 angels fallen from heaven, congregating on a mountain called Mount Hermon. Right here, by name. Now, when Lucifer originally fell, he took 1/3 of his angels. What is 1/3? 3.33. Why is that number so significant? Now, why is 33 so significant? Well, when the angels fell, they landed on the only geological place on Earth that represents their number, 33.33 north and 33.3 degrees east, using the Paris Prime Meridian. So let's bring this all together. Paramount Logos has a mountain with 22 stars around it. The Book of Enoch has 22 stars mentioned by name that congregate around a mountain, and the mountain is literally the only geological place on Earth that represents their number using the Paris Prime Meridian. Things that make you go, Wait till my next video and I'll connect something else with Mount Hermon. Talked about the Paramount logo with the 22 stars and the emblem, but if you look in the Book of Enoch, it talks about 22 stars of the chief. They were the chief of the archons that came down, the watchers. They were the chief ones that went around the mountain and made this pact. Well, I kind of broke it down and showed the Paramount logo in the background and kind of deciphered it all through the video, and it actually reached 10 million people. 10 million. And I don't know how that reached that much. I know it was only by the will of the Father. But I believe that seed was set, and it made me gather a lot of people on my TikTok, and it was so great because all of the people that I was pretty much promoting, they all got to see that. They all got to go through my page and see these people that I'm promoting, and they're learning more truth and more truth. So that's kind of how it started off for TikTok with me.
Wow, man. Wow. For those of you that aren't as familiar with what he was just talking about, there is back at Genesis 6 there's some very key moments of understanding why we are where we are today. Like, rather than just looking, there's two main areas that you have to attack when you're dealing with giants. In Amos 2:9, it says basically let me just grab it for you, because we got to talk strategies for how we destroy this entire network of radical intelligent evil that's just raping and pillaging and plundering society. And Amos 2:9 has this passage. Anytime, dude, I'm just always looking for ways of fighting, in the scriptures. So anytime I see this stuff, I'm like, oh yes. Check this out. He's talking about the wicked here in the book of Amos here. He says, and thus said Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of Yisrael, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they sell the righteous for silver.
Yeah, he's the real deal. He's saying the real names. Yeah, this dude's the real deal.
And the poor for a pair of sandals, who crush the head of the poor ones in the dust of the earth, and turn aside the way of the meek. And a man and his father go in to the same girl to defile my set-apart name. And they lie down by every slaughter place on garments taken in pledge. And in the house of their mighty one they drink the wine of those who have been fined. Yet I destroyed the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars, and he was as strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above and his roots from beneath. This to me was like fundamental warfare strategies for how they could actually kill and fight back against these giants. The Amorites is one of those tribes that was to be blotted out when they came into the land, the promised land, the land of Canaan. And when they came into there, the Amorites, you see here, it's talking about the height of the cedars, y'all. The heights of the cedars is hundreds of feet. So you want to talk about the biggest cedars in the earth? They're all over here in America, by the way. They're not over in Lebanon, the country. But they are 400 feet tall. We're not talking about some kind of like tall dude. We're not talking about some guy with giganticism and is 9 foot tall. We're talking about supernatural, gigantic beings, like living mountains, huge monstrosities of creatures. These things required an incredibly different form of tactics and strategy. And there's a reason when they sent in the 12 spies to go and check out the land, and they're like, listen, the heights of their gates and their cities reach to the heavens. They're not joking. These things were unbelievable. It says that we are like grasshoppers in their sight. And I just want you to stand for a second. If any of you have never been to like the Sequoia National Forest or seen the redwoods, like when you stand at the base of those things, you are straight up a cricket at the foot of that thing. You are like that. That's what you're dealing with. And so there had to have been a strategy to go in there. And Joshua, right before they go into battle in Jericho and invade the whole entire territory, the captain of the heavenly host comes and like meets with him with his sword drawn. And I believe that's literally the time when the company commander came and met with his general and is like, here's what's going to go down out there. You know what I mean? Here, come here, Captain. We're going to go have a talk. And it's like he gave him the download for how to physically and conquer these people. And they had training, basic combat training in the wilderness with these 20-year-olds and under. As they grew up for 40 years, those people got specialized combat and tactics instructions for how to fight these bad guys. And so they had an understanding of what Moses was referencing back in Genesis 6 when he said, and in the days, let's just read it real quick, because this is one of those reasons. You got the main incursion, the first incursion of the serpent coming in the garden, and then you have a second incursion of a major cataclysmic event that takes place in Genesis 6, or that's mentioned in Genesis 6, that takes place really in the days of Jared. And it says, and it came to be when men began to increase on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of Elohim This is angels, by the way. This is not sons of Seth. This is sons of Elohim. These are B'nai Ha-Elohim, angels, okay? Watcher angels, specifically, a class that we could call Grigores in the Greek terms. They saw the daughters of men that they were good, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And Yahweh said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever in his going astray. He is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of Elohim came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of name. And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his hearts was only evil continually. And Yahweh was sorry that he made man on the earth, and was grieved in his heart, and said, I am going to wipe off man from whom I've created from the face of the ground, both man and beast, creeping creatures and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I've made them. There was chief leaders of these rebel messengers, these rebel watchers who came down. What he is talking about, those 22 stars, there's 22 specifically named deities, mighty ones, who came down, and they were the ones that were in charge, the shot callers. And it describes some of the attributes of the secrets of wisdom, of secrets of heaven, that they came down and taught men. And a lot of it had to do with violence, astrology, divination, medium, sorcery, necromancy, battle, all types of different ways of making weapons and armory and mixing of metals and music. I mean, there's a great variety of like pouring out of the occult sciences, for lack of a better word. Another guy who's got I don't have it right here. Anyways, it's in the other room. Gary Wayne wrote this book that's called The Genesis 6 Conspiracy, which is one of the best books to go through, reading kind of the actual like perspective of lenses of what all these people believe and why they believe what they believe. That book goes into a lot of really profound detail. But the book of First Enoch that he just mentioned there, Zach, deals with what they did and why they did it. And that insemination of their seed line produced an offspring of hybrids, like you see right here, the Nephilim. In Deuteronomy, you hear about these other classes of beings, these other mighty ones that were immortals. You had these immortals that were having, and then they gave birth to the Nephilim, and now you have a partial mortal and a partial immortal stuck together. And after the flood, this is literally where we got these disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, because their souls, after they died, could not go and be in the heaven. They also couldn't leave the earth, so they were bound here. And this is what became these tormenting beings, these giants of spiritual stature that we're wrestling against here. And so the book of First Enoch is one of the best books to be able to examine and understand a lot more of this minutia of why you got here. And Zach, I think you put together a lot of these videos, man, that are just, they're simple and they're profound at being able to communicate these concepts to people that need to be able to hear it and get exposed to that in a really profound way.
Where he talked about the Paramount logo with the 20.
This is from Snatch from the Dragon, if you want to check them out.
It's a whole bunch of bullets. Let me just show you my favorites. Okay, because at the end of the day, if we got to fight these things, right? You know what I'm saying? Like these giants, it says in the book of Isaiah, in the Greek, in the Septuagint version of it, it says like, open the gates, you rulers. Giants are coming to fulfill my wrath. You're like, dude, giants are coming back, y'all. We got to deal with that. Like I saw these dragons with my eyes, man. They made a firm impression on me. I understood that like there is a tongue of the Nahash. These things speak. These things interact. They are like real creatures. There is down beneath our feet an entire underworld of a different civilization that operates. And you know what? They have an agenda that is entirely different than yours.
You got Hollow Earth and Sheol. So it's, they definitely operate under our feet. Look down under your feet, a whole different world under there.
And I believe that ultimately they've been preserved until the days of wrath and tribulation. In the end, there is a third of the world is going to get famine, plague, and sword and beasts of the earth. And I'm always like, what the heck are the beasts of the earth, y'all? Like when you start to examine what are like these beings that come up out of the pit, and it says that they have breastplates of armor that's on their chest, y'all. It says that it's hyacinth blue, it's sapphire. Okay, so then I started looking up sapphire armor, and this is what led me down all these other trades of being like, we got to make sapphire plate body armor, and that's why I got all into this. giant blocks of sapphire, right? And this is literally what the United States military and Russia and places they use for optical armor. You can melt something down called corundum, which is like aluminum oxide, and you can cast it and make it clear. And they use that for optics protection. So like on the drones or on the F-35 Lightning or fighter jet, they've got these protective glasses on the front of it. Well, that's all sapphire, you know? And so if you have your plate carrier made out of sapphire, it shatters bullets. It's unbelievably effective. Been using it in tanks and helicopters as armor for a long time. But it literally says that this 100 million creature hybrid army has sapphire plate armor. And I'm like, well, dang, how do you penetrate sapphire armor? And I'm like, tungsten, API. So I got all into armor piercing incendiaries and stuff like that early on, very early on. Dude, this started super early for me. Like when I saw those dragons, I was like, how the heck do I penetrate that armor? That was like question number one. I'm like, I don't know. How the heck did we penetrate tank armor? And that got me into like all kinds of stuff like this, you know. This is a 30 millimeter, comes from a 30 millimeter Vulcan, or no, Gatling, GAU-8 Avenger. It's like literally the size of an F-150 minigun, you know. It's gigantic, it's amazing. That's how much propellant is required to shoot that thing.
He's not playing. He's trying to take down a dragon and giants with sapphire armor. I believe it does say that, man. Oh my God.
You know, but they use depleted uranium, which I can't get my hands on. If any of you guys have a depleted uranium round for 30 millimeter, man, please reach out to me. Some of them, they make them in 7.62 54 too, which would be awesome. But I would love to experiment with that stuff. But here's smaller versions of it. This is a 50 cal. So you guys see those 50 cal, my favorite machine gun on the face of the earth, the Browning M2 machine gun, the Mongoose, shoots this thing. It's like a tiny little football going, you know, thousands of feet per second. Now, inside this, can't really see it, but inside there is a tungsten core, okay, a penetrating core. So when this thing strikes the target, the copper jacket that's on the outside of this kind of petals away, and then the tungsten penetrator in there pierces right through it. It melts holes into armor. And this is what this one is, which is my other cube that's up here. This is pure tungsten. And so this little thing is outrageously, unbelievably heavy. It's basically exactly the same density as gold. And this is what is just amazing at punching holes through armor. I'm going to meet with a weapons manufacturer. I was supposed to meet with them yesterday, but I had all kinds of stuff come up. But they're making tungsten munitions for shotgun shells. Oh, it's freaking unbelievable.
Snatch from the flames. This dude, Nathan, is not playing.
It's a whole bunch.
In 1869, a Sir Charles Warren was searching on Mount Hermon, the supposed Mount Hermon that we're told of in Jerusalem. And he was about 9,232 feet above sea level. And he found a temple. And this temple was in a spiral way that it was built. And supposedly him going into the temple, he found a plate that had an inscription on it that he couldn't really decipher, so he ended up carrying it down off the mountain. It ended up splitting in two, and it was very hard to decipher. And they still actually don't know what language it is, but they believe it's some form of like the first form of ancient Greek. And the translation is actually you can actually find this. I looked it up, and it was actually a real thing. The guy is actually a real guy. And suppose this is the translation. It says, according to the commandments of the greatest, most holy God, those who took the oath proceed from here. And it's very telling. And I made a video about this and put it on my TikTok. I actually found this out through Now You See TV with John Pounders and David Carrico. I like to branch out with the different truth-seeking, alternative truth people I listen to. I don't agree with everyone's interpretation on the word, but I do believe that looking at different perspectives, you're able to kind of gather in the full truth of it. But that was one thing that I was wondering if you've ever heard of.
I've not heard of that specifically, but Mount Hermon gets its name from the place where it is said that those 200 watchers descended and bound themselves by mutual imprecation, took an oath. in order to go ahead and leave their heavenly state. Like this is what he's talking about in First Peter in the book of Jude, where it says those angels, those messengers who kept not their first estate, their heavenly estate, but came down and made themselves with women, right? They are bound in chains of darkness until the judgment. That is literally what it says they did, and that's literally what it says they got that name from. And I believe that's right up on the Syrian border. It's like the highest place there, and there's a big temple of Nimrod that's like a United World Heritage or UNESCO site, that's guarded and treasured land. You know what I mean? You can't go dig there and look what's inside there.
The United Nation actually has a base up on some place on Mount Hermon as well, right next to the Nimrod Fortress as well, which is pretty interesting. And what's pretty fascinating, that I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so I'm in the Mississippi area, the like Mississippi, I forget how what they call it, but like kind of the Appalachian Mountain area. And this book is called Giants on Record, and this is by the Jim Rivera and Hy Newman. And these guys totally went through the newspaper history of all the archaeological digs in America, and they put it into a book. And this has all the unusual archaeological discoveries in America that were hidden, that were discovered, and the Smithsonian came in and took them away. And what's really fascinating is that I live in Pittsburgh, and so there's history all around me. And I actually found out that in this book that there was a mound in McKees Rocks, and it was actually the biggest mound in North America, or not North America, in Pennsylvania. Sorry, it's the biggest mound in Pennsylvania, and it was in McKees Rocks, and the Smithsonian came in and totally destroyed it. But when they did, they actually reported in the documents, in the Smithsonian documents, that they found giant bones. And I actually went down there and filmed the video about it and showed an older video, or an older picture of what it used to look like to compared to what it is now. It's a baseball field now. But when I was down there, you could feel the spiritual tension. And because you got to understand that this land was the land of the plumed serpent, and they worshipped this serpent. Most of them were a serpent cult. In 1869, a Sir Charles Warren.
Damn, Mississippi. Did you guys get the name of that book, Giants on Record? I have to start reading, man. I'm not the best reader, I'm not gonna lie, but I have to read the Genesis of Conspiracy and Giants on Record. Shout out to Z Lewis 770 and Nathan Reynolds for this information. Man, these boys are going through it. These men, forgive me.
This came upon sovereign Nebuchadnezzar. Here it is. And at the end of 12 months, so this is like a year. So he has a year of opportunities to change his life. He was walking about the palace of the reign of Babel. The sovereign spoke and said, "Is not this great Babel, which I myself had built, for the house of the reign, by the might of my power, and for the esteem of my splendor?" The word was still in the sovereign's mouth when a voice fell from the heavens. This is the watcher. "Sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken. The reign has been taken away from you, and you are driven away from men, and your dwelling is to be with the beasts of the field. You are given grass to eat like oxen, and 7 seasons shall pass over you until you know that the Most High is ruler in the reign of men, and he gives it to whomever he wishes." In that hour the word was executed on Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men. He ate grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the heavens, till his hair had grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. He became a lichen. This is like lycanthropy. He literally became like a beast, you guys. He was transformed into like an image of a different thing. You and I, just for real clarity of thought here, cannot eat grass and live. We don't have 4 stomachs. That's why creatures that chew the cud, because they have to puke it up back into their mouth again and chew it down and swallow it again. Swallow it, put it back down into the stomach. They're going to burp it up, chew it again, so that there's some air brought onto it, so that there can be like an anaerobic or an aerobic process of digestion, and swallow it back down. There's a reason they do that. We cannot live on grass like you can. It's technically edible. You can eat it. Bamboo is a grass. You can definitely eat it. Your body can digest that form of grass. There's other grasses that we cannot eat. You can't go out and eat grass like an ox. His body was physically changed. And this is the properties that the Watchers, the class of immortals, has, is that they are shapeshifters, not only for themselves, they can transform themselves into an angel of light. They can make themselves look like any.
Yo, this dude is spitting. How intelligent is that? This brother is definitely intelligent, man.
Thing they really want to, and they can also make others be transformed into different images. This is why when you're dealing with things like these phenomenon that people are encountering or experiencing out in the world, that is mysterious xenotypology of creatures that don't have a regular class of placement in our worldly system of literature. This is the cryptozoology, okay? These beings, some of them, be very clear, are coming from this type of actions. There are angels, immortals, that mix and transform creatures on this earth and create these hybridized beings as bodies, as carriers of this. Some of them are literally agents of fear. When you go out into many of these places in the deep national forest, people that go out there have these encounters with these other creatures, these beings that don't fit into the class of it. The predominant, I spent years, you guys, researching this stuff back in 2013, 14, and 15 in particularity, because I had a lot of questions. Lots of people wanted to talk about that. That was like the big thing, especially out in Colorado. It's big, lots of forests, lots of national forests, lots of minimally explored areas. And because of that, people have these encounters with these beings out there, these creatures out there. And the predominant overarching symptom that you find during those encounters, though, is fear. And so more often than not, my conclusion at the time was that, okay, are these things like Nephilim? Are these descendants of the Nephilim? Are these part of, the hybrid breeding programs? Are these like the very rare leftovers of those species that are still out there, like dragons that are still out there? Are these creatures, holdovers that live in these very remote areas of our country? Are our national parks, are some of the federal lands that are literally inaccessible except by foot, are those designed areas as containment zones like we, the Americans, did to the Native Americans? That gave them reservations. They moved them onto territories and said, that's your place. You stay there. You don't go out of there. That's your lands now. Our lands is all the rest of the stuff. Is a similar deal, in a sense, worked out with these beings in these other territories. And it seems to be that definitely there's a lot of circumstances that take place in those areas. There's a whole other avenue you can go down with the missing 411. That's a whole long giant rabbit hole in and of itself. You guys, you can feel free to go down that road. Understand that there's components within each and every one of these stories where a biblical lens is required in order to look at it. But those creatures that you're dealing with, one of the predominant experiences that people have when they go through one of these moments, whether it's a Bigfoot encounter, whether it's an encounter with a dogman or a werewolf, this fear, this overwhelming fear. And it tells me this is the fruit of that kingdom. Anytime you're identifying, like, okay, what are these beings coming from? Because people feel fear and stuff with bear encounters, but not every single time. They don't, it's not like they can send out the fear. They can't project it. But these other things, they really can't. They can produce altered states of experiences in the people that are around them. It's really intense and serious stuff. For those of you who have never gone through anything like it, you're going to think this is all kind of ridiculous, whatever. Till you have your own encounters, it's a totally different story. But I don't encourage you to go down the road of seeking and looking into this stuff, because it has its own hypnotic attraction that will draw you away from more or less garnering the fruits of the Spirit and seeking to know His word. It's very seductive. You can get totally lost in it. And at the time, my wife and I had this encounter. I'm not even going to tell you right now, because it's a better story if I tell it with her. I was looking into all this stuff constantly. I was constantly looking into this stuff, and I was trying to do all this mapping. One of the things I like to do when I hunt, you know what I'm saying? Like, I start to put together maps of like, okay, well, how many counters? Where are the hot spots? Where are the areas that we seem to have a lot of this stuff? Why is it that we have Bigfoot museums in this area? Why do we have hundreds of sightings in this part of the country, in this part of the state, or in this part of this county, and not in these other areas? Well, I'm like, well, these are territorial. If they're territorial spirits, okay, are these things just spirits, or do they also have physical corporal bodies, right? We've got to test all this stuff out. Anyway, they have physical telltale signs that you can find and identify to find their fruits of their kingdom. There's certain areas that you could like identify hotspots in. And I had this big desire to see one of these things. That was like, I wanted to see it. And I got totally sucked into it. And it was one of the most terrifying experiences of our life, and it warned me off of it. My wife literally was trying to like tell me, like, stop looking into this stuff. I think you're spending way too much time looking into that and not the word. And she was right, because when you dig into this stuff and when you look for this stuff, it comes. It's like alien encounters. Okay, those of you guys that are like really go after and seek contact with aliens, they come, which to me is like a sign of demonic stuff, because when you open the door to the demonic, It comes, whether you want it or not. At the end of the day, if you play with a Ouija board, you guys are going to kick open the doors to darkness, and you're going to open a gateway, and it's going to come through, whether you want it to or not, whether you think you can control it or not. You're going to open that side of it up. And so many parallels exist between these things having spiritual power, spiritual abilities to change their forms, transform themselves, orbs of light like the Ophanum, transporting them around. There's lots of stuff that show that these things are not physically just physical. They're not like a lost species of apes. They're
I just want to say, man, he's got a point. Since I was doing these videos, I literally, I had to take a month off because, I was feeling severe anxiety. I still to this day check my watch. I have a watch that monitors my heartbeat so I can really, check my levels, make sure I'm good. You know what I'm saying? It's just this stuff is real, y'all. And I'm looking at this Lion Man of Moab. Look at that. This is spiritual warfare, guys. But at the same time, let me tell you, you will elevate. I'm not saying this out of fear. I'm saying that this is not your final form. Like on some Dragon Ball Z Goku, you can turn Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3 spiritually. You know what I'm saying? Look at the book of Enoch. The less he spent talking to people, I think it was the book of Jashir. The less time he spent talking to people, and the more time he spent in the Most High's presence, just learning about him and how to fulfill his wishes, made him level up even more. So it's just, you gotta dive more into the book and level up spiritually. If you get to that point, and it's a metamorphosis. You gotta level up, get stronger at the word, closer, try to be sin free instead of always repenting. Man, I'm sorry I did this. Lord, I shouldn't have did this. Man, Father God, please forgive me. How can you go sin free? How can you please the Father and make him happy on a daily basis? So your name will not be blotted out on the book of life. That's literally how I feel. Like, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm not guaranteed, and I'm not putting this on no one else because you can't condemn anyone. But myself, how I look at myself, I'm not guaranteed to get into heaven. I'm not going to sit here and say, hit the Forrest Gump. I know I'm going to heaven, Lieutenant Dan. That's not me. As you, I believe you really got to really be sin free, and, you can keep, every time you do something bad, you just can't repent. It's like, oh man, my bad. You know what I'm saying? You got to really try and dig deep, level up on the spirituality. You know what I'm saying? And try to be sin free, obey his commandments. So I hear him saying, it makes a lot of sense from what he's saying.
They're not just a hybridized species of wolves and men. There's other stuff going on here. And that's where a lot of these shape-shifting character traits come from. It comes from curses of the Watchers. It comes from people that made deals with immortals to become different, like Yanadoshi and stuff that goes in skinwalkers and things like that. People that did horrible abominations and get caught up in that. That's where some of these dogmen come from. People that go in down this dark path of magical workings, and they literally make deals with these immortals so that they can take on and be possessed by the spirit of the wolf. Some of them literally get possessed fully, completely, and they can't come out of it. They can't come free from that. That's literally a class of beings that people pursue and try to capture and utilize. And it's serious world in the underground. I know that some of this stuff is so far out there to some of you guys, and others, this is literally like, I get emails of people sharing their testimonies and stuff like this, like you wouldn't even believe, you guys. This is like reality for a lot of people. And this stuff is coming back. These beasts of the earth are going to come back to the surface, and you're going to have to know how to engage them. And if your heart is going to fail you from fear of looking after those things that are coming upon the earth, lots of people are literally going to die from fear of seeing these things. Other cultures and societies had experience for thousands of years, but ours has not, unless they shove it in a movie form, and then it's trying to pre-program people and condition them to seeing these things again. But you should be able to be well versed in understanding the scriptures covers these topics. How do we deal with them and how do we engage in them? All this came upon sovereign Nebuchadnezzar.
I'm trying to see this lion man of Moab. That's crazy. You know, you can actually see the mouth, like the Wizard of Oz. You know, the lion. That's what I was thinking. But he's talking about engaging, seeing him making those what was it, Tuscan rounds. He's not playing, man. Shout out to Ryan Reynolds, man. He hasn't dropped nothing lately, man. I hope he's good. You know it's getting real if you start genuinely getting worried about someone. Like, man, is he all right? You know. So I had shout out to all y'all that reached out for me on that month I was gone, man. It wasn't a pretty month for me. You know, if you don't see me post for 2-3 days, something's seriously wrong. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm just re-editing this video before I send it to you guys. I just want to add that, you know, I don't fear anything but Yahuwah, YHWH. That's the only thing I fear in this world. Yeah, man, he hasn't posted anything since July, so I hope he's good. Hope he's good, man. I'm gonna drop some videos. Let's see if we can type in that Lion Man of Moab real quick, just because I'm interested myself.
So this is called the Mensch. It's a...
There's not really a lot of information, but we're going to play this one.
So this is called the Mensch. It's what they call a therianthrope. It's part animal and part human. It's made on the tusk of a mammoth, the growth end. So this is the actual tip of the mammoth tusk. And it is a bipedal lion. It's a lion that's standing on 2 legs. Now, as far as I know, there are no such things in the world, and there never have been. So this is a creature from a story. This is a creature from a mythical place, the other side of the cave wall, if you like. This is part of a story that's been told around the firelight.
What he meant to say is hollow earth. I can't hold it in. They either underground or they made some type of pact. Like, look, you can't come over here. Like he said he did the Indians. Like, y'all can't come over here. Y'all stay over here. This is y'all place. You know, don't come up. So, you know, truth is stranger than fiction, my guy.
It's part of a story that was clearly relevant, and it's 39,000 years in age. It's the first time we see our own particular kind of cognitive thinking, where we can imagine worlds. I tell my students that this is the oldest science fiction story and the first.
Truth is stranger than fiction, man. I'm telling you. I'm gonna let him finish, but it's these people that made this would not go this hard unless they actually seen one of these in real life. Like, I don't care. Someone could tell me a story all day. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to go hard on something unless I actually physically seen it to the point where I'm going to carve it. You know what I'm saying?
Science fiction story that was ever told.
It's absolutely incredible. So, and presented for like mythology, the first myth that we know of.
Yes, very much so. It was found in Germany in 1939 on the eve of the Second World War. It was put in a box as fragments, and only later on was it realised what it actually was and put together by German archaeologists.
And is this your favourite archaeological
This,
find
yeah,
in the
and
world?
I do earlier stuff. I'm sort of interested in Homo erectus and hand axes. You think that would be my favourite? One of those would be my favourite archaeological item, but no, it's the Mensch. If you just look at it, it's looking at you.
Believe what I got in this box. First, I'll share this. What's in this bag? I went to the Roswell in northern Arizona, and you know that meteorite site. They're saying this is an actual piece of a meteorite. I don't, after, as someone holding an actual piece of a meteorite, I can't tell you whether or not those are really from the meteorite craters or not. But I will tell you, this thing is extremely heavy. Like it's got some weight to it. It feels like iron, you know. It's heavy. Or it might be from outer space. I don't know. For entertainment purposes only. And then I had to get this. Guess what's in this box? A megalodon tooth. You know, if we look at the great white teeth, you know, I believe they don't get this big. They get probably half the size of this. So this is a living fact that we had some massive sharks in the water back in the day. Straight, this would hurt. Getting bit with like, getting chomped with like hundreds of these or 50, 70 of these just getting chomped. You're in trouble. Look at the jagged edge on it. I always told myself if I got hot one day, I bought this traveling. I was on the road and I was traveling to see my dad, rest in peace, in Los Angeles. And I stopped by this place because I always wanted to go there. And I bought this just so I can have a memory for that road trip because it was a 36-hour drive I did by myself. You know what I'm saying? Straight through. Like if you were to drive where I was going to LA, it would be about a 36-hour drive. I mean, 36-hour drive over 3,000 miles. I did that by myself and back over 4 times. You know, so I'm not ashamed. I'm no stranger to long distance travels. You know, my first time it took me 3 days, but I've done it there and back twice. You know, I was out sightseeing my first time, so that's why it took me so long. But yeah, your boy is not afraid to hit that open road. And this is an actual megalodon. So, Professor John McNabb, you're not the only one with artifacts, my guy. This is a real megalodon fossil. This is living proof we had giant sharks back in the day. But I always told myself if I was going to get hot, and if I ever got, you know, popping one day, I was going to turn this into a necklace. Like, I don't know, fill out the other piece with something, and then make it into a necklace. You know, how tight would that be? I still got it. I think I paid, no joke, I paid like $700 for it at the museum. It was a lot of money, man, but, you know, I told him, hey, I'll just make some more. That was like 6 years ago, 7 years, I believe I did that, 8 years ago. Wait, no, longer than that. I think it was like, I did that probably 13 years ago, honestly. Time flies, man. I'll see if I can dig up some of those pictures from that crater, and I'm going to put them right here. My apologies if I don't find it. You know, I'll be banging these boys out. But yeah.
Very strange in Egypt in 1988, and I'm not surprised we have heard nothing about it since. So his name is Gregor Spori. He is Swiss. He's a researcher, he's an author, he's an archaeologist. He's like Indiana Jones. Listen to what he did. He met with a group in Cairo, and these guys were grave robbers, and the word had spread that they found something really interesting, and he wanted to get it off them. What they handed him in a bundle of rags would change the course of his life. He unrolled the bag and found a 16-inch giant mummified finger. You can even see the bone sticking out the other end. A 16-inch finger, they did the math, it would make the creature that had this finger be 16 feet tall. Disclaimer, this video is meant for purely entertainment purposes only, and it's not to be taken as a fact. This could be totally a hoax, but some stuff in ancient times about giants, it just seems a bit too... So, it may very well be fake, but if it's real, this is a giant, damn giant, man. 16 freaking feet, can you imagine? And this is a mural that was in a pyramid in Sudan with a giant holding two elephants. It could just be cool artwork, it could be metaphorical. But all I know is an elephant's longer than 16 feet probably, and so that would make this guy very tall. Maybe there was different types of giants. If they existed, they could be totally fake. Comment below if you thought you'd see a giant mummified finger on Instagram today.
Oh my God. That thing.
This man found something.
It looked real, 100% real. We got to see that again. We have to see that again.
An archaeologist. He's like Indiana Jones. Listen to what he did. He met with a group in Cairo, and these guys were grave robbers, and the word had spread that they found something really interesting, and he wanted to get it off them. What they handed him in a bundle of rags would change the course of his life. He unrolled the bag and found a 16-inch giant
Whispers in the night, shadows long and deep, ancient giants rise, tales of old and true. Traces left behind, rise from earth and stone. Giants claim their throne. Awaken from the tomb, giants rule. Come before.
I cannot wait to see more. Incredible, man.
But now that I know, this totally look like big toes sticking out of the grass.
Big toe.
Yeah. Honey, you're walking on the giant's big toes. You better make sure he doesn't start wiggling. But now that I know, this totally look like big toes sticking out of the grass.
Big toe.
Yeah. Honey, you're.
That does look like giant toes, but didn't they have 6?
Pictures no human. We're meant to see. Pictures no human. We're meant to see.
Yeah, I think they found like a whole bunch of them, didn't they? Guys, is this one? Tell me if this is real or not. Giant that they're doing MRIs for. Here we got one carrying bricks.
So it's something outside of you, though, you know. So you should physical body because the body to make you think that it's something outside of you, though, you know. So you should definitely once you saw our versions of alien, because they're working about an alien right now. You know, these scumbags working with on the lab right now with a genetically modified creature that they themselves splice, and they themselves have neural link inside of them so they can control the mind of that creature. They're going to give you their alien version, and you're going to think it's outer space alien. In reality, it's a genetically modified creature. There's going to be your new overlord. There's going to be your new so-called, you need to bow down to this newly advanced species. Nah, it's all fabrication, okay? We were doing this. These are a bunch of giant that they have recovered many places, and they have a lot of mummies, giants, and some bodies wrapping, and it's all over. Look where you saw it. Look at you see the fro in the head? And the reason why they're not disclosing the giant talk is because of race again. Race is the biggest factor of holding us backward. The reason why we're not evolving, the reason why we stuck is because of race. The day and the time we no longer see race, humanity will be a type 3. We'll have a type 3 civilization in no time. The time we no longer see race as an issue, where we don't value each other based on skin color, is the time we will become a type 3 civilization. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. So these are the giants. They don't talk about it. They don't talk about it. Because the giants don't look pale. The giants look like the people they want to hide evidence from. That's all it is. It's politics of hate. That's the game. The politics of hate keep the world from evolving. Because everything they hate is everything they keep facing. And that's the problem. And these things they hate is what they need to evolve as a species themselves. So for that reason, we just literally stuck. So we stuck as a species because a group of hateful scumbag decide to keep us in a buffer zone because they don't want to face what? The truth. That's the deal. They don't want to face the truth because their truth is what they want you to believe. Now, let me show you more constructions with these entities, because a lot of these buildings to make you think that, you know, it's something outside of you, though, you know. Physical body, because the body does not have the magnetism frequency it needs in order for them to become that size. So everyone you saw that actually reached 7'5", 7'6", these are these are the people that were supposed to be 24 foot tall. But the level of depleted oxygen only make them stop from this area, and these folks end up dying quick too. And that's what happened. Ain't no alien built nothing. We did. Okay? And when you say giant, we're not talking about a different species. We're talking about another way of humanity. Okay? Another side of humanity. Humanity can get to gigantism. This is them carry those blocks. You know, people like, man, these are 24 tons and 3 tons of these rock is heavy. Nah, you saw it right there. A giant carry those rock. Now look at the rock size with a normal human. So this guy literally on this guy's ankle. Did you understand?
Damn, so giants built the pyramids? Let me know your thoughts below. Did giants build the pyramids? Because this is what it says.
Dude literally on this guy's ankle area. More like the calf. My bad. Not the ankle. It's calf. This is how big we were. Okay, so ain't no giant building this shit. I mean, ain't no UFO, ain't no alien. We did. Humanity did that. And these people is a part of humanity. And guess what? They were melanated. Okay? So we not making this shit up. And for some people here that just wonder why I say this, because it's the truth. Look, this dude literally walking around with 2 elephants. Did you understand the size of elephant? Did you understand? Did you understand the size of elephant? How huge elephant looked to us? And how heavy that shit would have been when it come to us? And this dude literally walking around with this joint like it ain't nothing. Yeah, it's Titan. Exactly. Okay? So we were in good harmony with them. Humanity and all of because it's still humans. There's just a human that achieve a size of a Titan. There's still human that still achieves the size of a giant. But nevertheless, that's human. We were connected with all of them before we physically.
Man, how do they have those giants in the MRI machine? Where can we look up that information at? How can we see the MRI results of that giant being scanned? Can we see that, please, Smithsonian? Pretty please.
Everything you've ever wanted to know about the Nephilim in 10 minutes. This is the book, the ultimate guide to everything you've ever wanted to know about the Nephilim in 10 minutes. This is the book, the ultimate guide to rebuild civilization, and you can see sacred geometry right here on the front. If it's not apparently obvious, while this is branded as a really cool niche item that holds the collective knowledge of all of civilization and technology in it, such that you could rebuild it if ever there was a complete reset, you begin to immediately see biblical imagery with goats and sheep, images of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, witchcraft type rituals, and I know if you think I'm over exaggerating, look at that witch hidden behind there, and little demons hidden on almost every page. What this really is the knowledge that the Nephilim gave to the pre-flood Israelites. This is the knowledge that ruined mankind. Here's what I think happened. I think a class.
Hold on, was that C3PO? That is C3PO. What's going on here?
Here's what I think happened. I think a class of angels called the Watchers came down from heaven and cohabitated with earth women, meaning impregnated them in some sort of like evil inverse of how the Holy Spirit impregnated Mary with Jesus. Their children are half-breeds, half angelic seed, birthed from the daughters of man. This is where all your half-breed mythology like Hercules comes from. This is where mermaids and centaurs come from, half human, half animal. What do you know? This imagery is all over the book. Animals merging with humans, genetic mutations. Just a coincidence? The hands of demons playing humanity like puppets. Greek mythology. Demons teaching mankind chemistry and astrology, working together to build civilization, and man summoning genies from vessels. The reason this is important is because it's a cautionary tale of transhumanism. See his leg right there being mechanical? It started off with humans merging with animals, and it ends up with humans merging with AI. Funny why this imagery is in this book. And the wives of the Watcher angels, meaning the women that cohabitated with them, who cuckolded their earthly husbands to go fornicate with the angel, which is a physical mirror of what we do spiritually when we sin. The church, which is the bride of Christ, which you're a member of, is literally fornicating against Christ, their husband, with the enemies of God. This is what James 1 is talking about when it says, you are dragged away by the desires of your flesh and then enticed, secondly. And then there's conception, which is sin, and when sin is birthed and becomes full grown, it becomes death. The wages of sin is death. This is also what 1 Enoch chapter 7 is talking about, the same pattern. The daughters of man were dragged away by the desires of their flesh and enticed by the angels. They conceived, they had Nephilim, and when those grew up, they began murdering mankind. This is why God says we've defiled the wedding bed, that we're adulterers and harlots and fornicators. He's being literal. Sin is sex with dead angel babies. Tell me again why God's not entitled to be wrathful about this. He's merciful not to kill us. Look at the story of Hosea and Gomer. That's us in Christ. Read in Numbers chapter 5 where God tells them to unalive a baby of sin by drinking a cup of bitter water. That's literally a reference to God drowning the Nephilim, which were the sinful children of the Watcher angels and women. Here's how I think this knowledge got leaked into the world. I mean, just look at this stuff. It looks pre-flood. The wives...
Real quick, that was from Silent Hill, I believe. Yeah, the pyramid head. Yeah, that's Silent Hill.
I think this knowledge got leaked into the world. I mean, just look at this stuff. It looks pre-flood. The wives of the Watcher angels, which were the mother of the Nephilim, basically what Mary would be to Joseph and Jesus. They were the first witches. A witch is someone who conjures spiritual beings and nags them into accomplishing their own will. I think the earth women that the Watcher angels cohabitated with nagged them into giving this knowledge to humanity. Imagine these angels came down here and got their rocks off, and now they're in a relationship with this woman who won't shut up, literally nagging him to do things for them.
Build us a city. Teach us how to make fire. Teach us the ways of the stars. And the angels are basically like, shut up, stop talking. Fine, I'll go build you a city. Like, I think women just nagged the angels into giving us this knowledge. But here's the thing about this knowledge. I've spent my life trying to obtain it. Look at all these degrees I have. They're just laying in a box now. And I'm asked all the time how I know so much about the Bible. Did I get a theological degree? And the answer is no, I never went to seminary. But a while back, I decided I was going to beat the Bible to death with my brain, meaning I was going to figure it all out once and for all and silence everyone. And I had the guise of good motives, I guess. I was really enticed by knowledge, like the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And this is the enticement of the garden. I mean, look at this. Look at what it says on the bottom. It says, hungry minds. But praise be to God, he stopped me in my arrogance. At the time, I didn't understand why God was telling me not to learn Greek and Hebrew. And it's because I was going to use it to try to cut the Bible apart with my brain. And he wanted to teach me to understand its wisdom with my spirit. So part of it is my intellect and my IQ and my photographic memory. Praise God for that. I'm not ungrateful for those gifts. But if you want to know the secret as to how I know so much, it is very simple. You have to crucify your curiosity. Stop needing to know. Fight the enticement of knowledge and put that crack apple of knowledge down. Turn around and go submit. Follow God. Seek right.
Lean not on your own understanding.
Righteousness, and then all of these things will be added unto you. You need to stop needing to know and instead do what the Bible told you to do. There was no theologian in the Bible that Jesus was impressed with. A matter of fact, when you talk to Nicodemus, the theologian of theologians, the teacher of teachers, he made a complete fool of what he thought he knew. He said, hold up. You're the teacher of teachers and you don't understand what I'm talking about? How then are you teaching the rest of Israel? Truly, the blind are leading the blind. God has never been impressed with anyone's theology. Rather, he was amazed by the childlike faith of the illiterate. You're just like a sperm cell trying to understand the legal system. There's no way you can wrap your head around it, but you can love God like a child would. And that's the secret. Crucify the intellect, crucify your curiosity. Seek the Lord with your whole heart, your whole mind, and put your heart and mind in subjugation underneath your spirit. And then God will start to reveal things to you. These things I say, the parts of it that are actually correct, I can take no credit for it. It's given to me through the Holy Spirit. And anything I add to it, which I do all the time because I'm a wretch, and God help me for every single time I've ever done that, I'll have to answer for those parts on Judgment Day, for causing children to stumble. God help me. And so I can take no credit for the things that I've said that are right, and I have to take full responsibility for the things I've said that are wrong. And I live in the constant terror of that balance all the time. As for degrees, as for hidden secret knowledge, I tell you again, if you want to understand and not simply know, you have to crucify your curiosity and give it all to God. Your Father in heaven will teach you these things.
That was straight out the movie Anaconda, wasn't it? I would be gone.
Placing a seed under your tongue before planting may be the key to miracle health and longevity. Now, this process is actually called signature planting. And it is said that when you place a seed under your tongue for 7 seconds, it will actually start to interact with your DNA. And after this connection takes place, it creates some sort of superfood based on your own genetic requirements or deficiencies. Now, what's mind-blowing is I've seen many testimonials and stories of people saying their grandfathers and their great-grandfathers used to do this before planting their seeds. So maybe this was just a known fact back in the day. And if anyone has any experiences or stories about this, let us know in the comments down below. And this theory certainly resonates with me, as I believe all of nature was designed with us in mind. Peace and love.
Wow, that's interesting. You just place it in your mouth or under your tongue for 7 seconds, germinate it, then you drop it down. That sounds a lot better than, letting it soak in a paper towel with water or something. That's interesting. Let me know in the thoughts below if you guys did something like that. Damn. This is in Michigan. Water Valete, passing by October 5th, 2024. According to NASA and 100 eyewitnesses. Did you guys see that? That thing was bright. What was that? Let's see if we can dive into that. Michigan meteorite? What is going on? Michigan meteorite. So the comments are saying people have seen this in Ohio. Like this was seen from, you know, all around the northern America region. But that thing definitely landed somewhere. Jump in the comments if you know anything about this. That's good footage, man. Look at the tail on that thing. Was this a ship? If you see the last two videos I was watching, I'm thinking that there was this fired from some type of alien ship, you know, from the custodians of the Anunnaki. Don't get me started, man. Those videos messed me up, man. So I'm starting to think, what was this? Is this some type of special craft that's traveling in and out of our firmament, going to another one? I don't know. Said Michigan had a meteor shower. Here's some footage. That doesn't look like no meteor shower. What are they talking about? That thing was coasting. Look at this. Are you kidding me? They might be lying about these meteor showers, and these might be actual vehicles. For entertainment purposes, of course. But look at them. They're not changing trajectory because they got somewhere to go. You know what I'm saying? They might be doing that for 5 hours straight. You know what I'm saying? Are those things possibly going in and out of the firmament, whatever those things are? Maybe that's why they burn up, because they have to hit a certain speed to get past the firmament, y'all. I'm telling y'all, man, I'm thinking completely different now. You know, there ain't much on this one. Ooh, someone's dream captured a good one. This was a mega ship, y'all. Look at it. That thing is gone. That is going straight beyond the Antarctic wall, y'all. That thing ain't landed on Earth. It is going straight past. You know, it's a different technology, man. I'm starting to think these ain't what we think they are, man. We need a telescope to zoom in on these bad boys and see the technology, see what it really is. It has to penetrate the firmament is what I'm thinking, man. Dang! Did you see that? Is there any sound? Unbelievable. Guys, drop in the comments your thoughts. Think about the last two videos we watched and what possibly this could be. If you're just now joining me and you haven't seen my last two videos, you need to watch them because it's really going to open your eyes to like, man.
The meteor that flew over Detroit the other day, here it is. Landed right here in Livonia.
I don't know, bro. You would have picked it up or you would have showed us. I don't know. But it does look like something that definitely crashed. I'm not going to lie. This is in Bronson, Michigan. A green fireball. Unbelievable. I wish I could have seen it. Let's see if someone can actually tell us what comments are, you know. Saw this in the sky over Goodrich, Michigan. I would be tripping if I saw that. I ain't gonna lie. I would be tripping. I'm like, what is that? Take me with you. I'm trying to go to the ancestral lands. Take me. This is in daytime, y'all. Where'd it go? It just went behind the cloud? They are not telling us the truth about comets, guys. What are they? That pretty much looks like all they got for the meteorite in Michigan, that giant green fireball. Let's see if we can get some type of answers on what they actually are.
Then what do we see falling from the skies if they aren't meteors? Great question. Now let's get some scripture. Then what do we see falling from the skies if they aren't meteors? Great question. Now let's get some scriptures. And I'm first going to take you to the Apocrypha, and then I'm going to find witnesses for it in the canon. All right, so it's actually fallen angels. It's demons that we see coming down. All right, and we just see them, and they look like falling stars, because that's what people tell us what they are. They look like meteors because people tell us what they are, but that's not what they actually are. They're actually demons falling down to the earth. So now let's get some scriptures for it. This is Testament of Solomon, chapter 24, verse 20. It said, I therefore, having heard this, glorified Yahweh Elohim, and I questioned the demon again, saying, tell me how you can ascend into heaven, being demons, and intermingle amidst the stars and holy messengers. And he answered, just as things are fulfilled in heaven, so also on the earth the types of all of them. For there are principalities, authorities, world rulers, and we demons fly around in the air, and we hear the voices of the heavenly beings, and survey all the powers. And as having no ground on which to descend and rest, we lose strength and fall off like leaves from trees. And men seeing us imagine that the stars are falling from the sky. And I'll go a little bit further. It says, but it is not really so, O king, but we fall because our weakness, and because we have nothing anywhere to lay a hold of. And so we suddenly fall down like lightnings in the depth of night. And we set cities in flames and the fields on fire, for the stars have firm foundations in the heavens like the sun and the moon. So that's very, very clear. Now you see why they took some of these books out, right? But hey, the Most High said knowledge will be increased in the last days, so here's your opportunity to get that knowledge. So, but of course, that's an apocryphal book, right? Maybe it's just absolutely BS, and there's no grounds for that in the actual KJV. Let's get some scriptures. First, let's get a witness for the principalities, authorities, and the world rulers, and we demons fly around in the air, to make sure that we know that that's not talking about regular human world rulers like presidents and czars and kings and emperors. All right, let's go here. Ephesians 2 and 2. And it says, where in time past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. And we can know that these aren't just regular human beings, because we're talking about among whom also we all had our conversation in time past, in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of our flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. So now let's get the next one for that. I'm going to go to Ephesians 6 and 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. That's why we know it's not flesh and blood that they were talking about, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places up there. Now let's get what the Messiah himself says about these things. This is Luke 10 and 18. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. All right. See the same thing, but we fall because of the weakness, right? And fall down like lightnings in the depth of the night. Right. So now we see that this is demons that are falling down, but let's get more context. First, we see that the devils are subject unto us through thy name. They were happy about that. And he saw Satan fall. So they saw people getting healed, but he saw Satan fall, right? But then, just so you know, behold, I give unto you the power to tread on serpents and scorpions. These aren't literal serpents and literal scorpions. These are demonic entities. And over all the power of the enemy, the power of the angels, the demons of the enemy, and nothing shall be by any means hurt you. So now let's get some more context and more understanding around, is it possible that we could look up and see, and it looks like, a falling star. Oh, it looks like a comet. It looks like that, but what it really is a, being that's coming down. We're going to get two things. We're going to first establish, are they able to go up and down? All right? Are they able to go up and down? So let's first go to Job. Let's find out, is it possible for demons to go up there? Right? And, because this thing said that demons fly around in the air and we hear the voices of the heavenly beings and survey all the powers. Let's find, do we have any witnesses for that in the 66? Absolutely we do. We go right here to Job. Right? And it says, now there was a day when the sons of God, these are the heavenly beings, came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them. And Yahweh said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So we're seeing here, not only does Satan just roam around the earth, but he also walks up and down in it. So he can go up to the heavens, and he can go down in the earth amongst us and go down into Sheol and then come back up. Now let's see some more evidence about angels being able to go up and down from heaven down to earth. So we found established that demons could do it, but remember, demons are just bad angels, all right? They're just negative angels. So now let's see other powers that have that same ability. Let's go to Jacob's dream. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it. This is how we know that it's not just it wasn't just human guys that are the children of God and things like that. Well, how some people don't believe in angels coming up and down, right? The reality is that we see here, right, behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it. Just to get a reference, just so we know, that word angels is malak, and the malak is the messengers. All right, it's a messenger, representative, messenger, angel, the theophanic angel.
He pulled up the blue letter Bible? Bro, this brother ain't playing.
Okay, that's Strong's H4397. So it's not human beings that are the sons of God referenced in that aspect right there. It's actually these beings right here. So now that we've proven Testament of Solomon to be accurate on the point of angels falling down like lightning, and those angels falling down like lightning that we see being demons, and also that Satan can go up and down, right? Up and down on earth, right? The demons, they can go up and down. They don't just have to stay down here necessarily. And then let's get one more aspect, because remember, when we're looking, we're seeing, first of all, Jacob's dream, he was in a dream, but he was in vision, seeing these things in the spirit world, right? But however, is it possible for an angel to appear to us as something different or not appear to us? Can they change the way that we see them at all? Well, let's go beyond just them cloaking, as in like shifting form, but let's go to the fact that they can be right in front of us and we literally don't even see them, right? Like they can change their form and they can also be in front of us and be completely invisible. That shows that they can shift the way that they're perceived by the human mind.
It says that Satan could be right next to you like a roaring lion at all times. I do remember that.
We're going to Numbers 28, and we're going to go here. First out of 23. And the ass saw the angel of Yahweh standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. The ass turned aside out of the way and went into the field, and Balaam smote the ass to turn her into the way. Now, he didn't see the angel, but the ass saw it. The donkey did. So let's jump down to 27. And when the ass saw the angel of Yahweh, she fell down under Balaam. And Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with a staff. I think this is a really cool thing about the Most High opening up the mouth of the ass right here. And she said unto Balaam, what have I done unto thee that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? So the donkey literally could talk to her, to talk to him. The female donkey was able to talk directly to him. Then, verse 31, Yahweh opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of Yahweh standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. So first here, we're seeing that an angel can be right in front of you. An animal can see it, but you might not be able to see it. Someone that's able to see spiritually might be able to see what those things are that are falling from the sky. And you might be right next to them and not see it. You might be right next to them and just see, oh, it looks like a rock falling from the sky. But that thing may be something completely different, or it could be invisible. Like when you get the chills in the back of your neck sometimes and you feel like you're being watched in your room. Yeah, those are beings that are there that you just can't see them. You might be able to perceive them spiritually with a different sense, your pineal gland, if it's active, right? But you're not going to be able to see it with your two eyes most of the time. But they're always there. They're all around, right?
This brother he said you gotta decalcify your pineal gland because, what was it on The Sixth Sense where he was like, I see people, it was something crazy, but this is wild. You gotta think about meteor showers, man. So you got all these angels coming. So what, do angels just get created? How many angels are there up there? Because you got to think, these meteor showers, you'll probably see 50 a night. 50 meteors just getting burned up in the atmosphere. I guess that's the best way I can describe it until I get more knowledge. You see 50 demons just getting burnt up in the atmosphere. So how many is that? How many are there? Are angels just getting spawned? How do angels get created? Drop in the comments if you got any answers to any of this. Please, we need to talk about this.
Telling us that they can shapeshift. They can change their form. They can change the way that they look. And they can minimize and diminish themselves. Let's watch this. Hebrews 13:2. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. So not only could you have possibly entertained that angel unaware, right? Like that person that you saw on the street might have been an angel and you didn't even realize it. They can change their form. They can look like whatever they want, really, and they can be invisible right in front of your face and you won't be able to see them. One last quick witness. And Yahweh opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire around about Elisha. Those were angels.
It's not like hitting me like I would expect it to. You know what I'm saying? So we gonna keep diving on this. But let me know your guys' thoughts below.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to do a really quick video on falling stars because I've been getting a lot of questions about them here lately. Well, for one, as I'm speaking to the globe earth believers, you guys believe that you're on a spinning ball going through outer space, but also at the same time you believe in falling stars. Well, if there's no gravity in space, how does a star fall? Why doesn't it go sideways or up? Why does it always fall down if there's no gravity in space? Okay, well, for one, there's no space. Now, here's the answer for my truthers out there. Now, the Testament of Solomon, just like the Book of Enoch, all these books were stripped from the Bible because they tell us what all these things are that surround us on this earth and what's going on up in the heavens and how everything is made. So, with that being said, let's look and see what Scripture says falling stars are. Okay, Solomon 1:13. And when they were gone, I ordered Amias to be brought forward, and said to him, Tell me how you know this. And he answered, We demons ascend into the firmament of heaven, and fly about among the stars, and we hear the sentences which go forth upon the souls of men, and forthwith we come, and whether by force of influence, or by fire, or by sword, or by some accident, we veil our act of destruction. And if a man does not die of some untimely disaster or by violence, then we demons transform ourselves in such a way to appear to men and be worshipped in our human nature. Therefore, having heard this glorified the Lord God. And again I questioned the demons, saying, Tell me how you can ascend into heaven, being demons, and amidst the stars and the holy angels intermingle. And he answered, Just as things are fulfilled in heaven, so also on earth are fulfilled the types of all of them. For there are principalities, authorities, world rulers, and we demons fly about in the air. And we hear the voices of the heavenly beings, and survey all powers. as having no ground or basis on which to alight and rest, we lose strength and fall off like leaves from trees, and men, seeing us, imagine that the stars are falling from heaven. But it is not really so, King, but we fall because of our weakness, and because we have nowhere anything to lay hold of. And so we fall down like lightnings in the depth of night, and suddenly, and we set cities in flames and fires of fields. For the stars have firm foundations in the heaven, like the sun and the moon. Now, did you pay attention what that said right there? For the stars have firm foundations in the heaven, like the sun and moon, which means they can't fall. They are firmly put there for eternity. Stars do not fall. Demons fall, and I just showed you that in Scripture. It's really, really simple. You're being lied to about your whole reality, and I'm trying to teach you the real reality. It's time to wake up and quit believing these lies that these people have been feeding to you for centuries now. And what you got to ask yourself is, why all the books that were stripped from the Bible are the books that explain to us everything that's going on in the sky and what all these things are made and how they were made? And ain't it funny that all those were stripped from the Bible, and the only information you are given about everything up in the sky and all around you now is given to you by NASA? These are not fallen stars. These are the demons, the evil spirits, bound here for eternity until a judgment day. Stars are angels, just as Scripture of Enoch says, and that is why it's called a falling star. And they even hide it in the intro of Paramount movies, the fallen angels descending on Mount Hermon.
The book of Enoch, chapter 6. And the angels, the children of the heaven, and there were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it.
Anyways, everyone have a good night. Thanks for watching, and God bless.
I feel like, yeah, falling off like leaves of a tree that lose their power. And notice how they said king, like they talking to Solomon, because you remember he had authority over these demons. So, yeah, y'all, this definitely got some validity. Makes a lot more sense. But it's like, where are they going? Is this the only way we can actually see demons? That's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't know, y'all, man. We got to talk about this one.
Or heard a loud boom this afternoon, you were not alone. People across 6 states reported feeling the impacts of what NASA now describes as a meteor. And tonight, News 4.
The sky over New York City already attracts plenty of attention. But today,
I don't know if we really had to ever think about that in the New York area.
People were looking up at more than the skyscrapers.
You have to have one bright enough, and it has to be right over New York to get all that attention.
Scientist Bill Cook, who leads NASA's Meteoroid Environments Office, is talking about a fireball, one bright enough to be seen in daylight.
Daytime fireballs are fairly rare, and New Yorkers got to see one this morning.
And boy, did they get an eyeful.
I got up. I'm looking like this way for about 3 seconds. It was like almost horizontal.
Judah Bergman's Lakewood, New Jersey office surveillance video shows him getting out of his chair and rushing to the window.
It just caught my eye. I saw a fireball just streaming through the sky. I couldn't believe it.
He turned to the place where many of us go for answers. The internet.
I looked up pictures on Google, and that's pretty much what I saw.
Some witnesses claim that space rock charted a picture-perfect course right above Lady Liberty's head. NASA scientists, though, say they're not quite sure. Cook says they have only 15 documented witnesses. The fireball was first spotted over New York Harbor, but where it went next...
We lack camera data and satellite data for this event. I'm just going off what the eyewitnesses said. So I can tell you it was definitely a meteor. It moved about 34,000 miles per hour, and it ended up over Midtown Manhattan. Anything else is pretty uncertain.
And Cook is confident the approximately 1-foot wide meteor did not cause the sonic booms reported by some. Jackie Beckford reporting, News 4, New York.
What if it did make that sonic boom? You know what I'm saying? I trust them boys as far as I could throw them, man. Straight up. What could be that fireball? You know, was that a level 9 demon that fell? Y'all tell me.
Stop wishing on falling stars. Stop wishing on falling stars. Don't do it. Never again. Tell your children, don't do it. Oh, I'm shook. Oh, I'm literally shaking shook. God made it very clear in the Bible, do not worship creation over the creator, including the sun, the moon, the stars. So we are all slowly realizing that the stars are not what NASA has told us. Nothing that NASA has told us is true, but that the stars are actually angels in the firmament, stationary in their position, and God called them each by name. So I had somebody ask me the other day, Auntie, what are falling stars then? I don't know, but we thought maybe what if it's an angel seeing that its person down on earth needs its help and it comes down to help and then pops back up. Nope. Who taught us to wish on falling stars? I'll tell you exactly who. The same who that would find great joy and power in getting God's children to worship the creation over the creator. You wish on a falling star your greatest wish that you hope will come true, giving that star more power than God. Why don't you go to God with that wish? Why do you need a falling star? You'll never want to wish on a falling star again after you hear the truth that I'm about to share. Those falling stars are not angels at all. Well, they are angels, and ironically, they're the fallen ones. Falling stars are demons. Check out the Testament of Solomon. We demons ascend into the firmament of heavens and fly about among the stars. And we hear the sentences which go forth upon the souls of men. And forthwith we come, and whether by force of influence, or by fire, or by sword, or by some accident, we veil our act of destruction. And if a man does not die by some untimely disaster or by violence, then we demons transform ourselves in such a way as to appear to men and to be worshipped in our human nature. Tell me how you can ascend into heavens being demons, and amidst the stars and holy angels intermingle. And he answered, just as things are fulfilled in heaven, so also on earth are fulfilled the types of all of them. For there are principalities, authorities, world rulers, and we demons fly about in the air, and we hear the voices of the heavenly beings and survey all the power. And as having no ground on which to alight and rest, we lose strength and fall off like leaves from the tree. And men seeing us imagine that the stars are falling from the heavens, but it is not really so, O King, but we fall because of our weakness, and because we have nowhere anything to lay hold of. And so we fall down like lightning in the depth of the night and suddenly. And we set cities in flames and fire in the field, for the stars have firm foundation in the heavens like the sun and the moon. The reason this has me shaking is I'm an ex-psychic, and I was accurate. I could give you safe combinations. I helped police solve murders. I was accurate, so I always thought it was a gift from God. Nope. Basically, the demons fly up into the heaven, trying to overhear the conversations of angels about the future, so they can come down and whisper it into mediums' ears. But when they are caught, fireballs are thrown at them, hence meteors, asteroids. Screenshot, pause to read. When they try to eavesdrop higher up in the heavens, they are chased by flaming fire, but sometimes they are able to catch something. These jinn are the collaborators of fortune tellers, who use this truth to mix it up with a bunch of lies. So now we have the truth about asteroids, meteors, and falling stars. And by wishing on falling stars, you're telling demons your deepest desires, worshiping creation over the creator.
I'm not gonna lie, I wished on a falling star before, but I didn't know. I didn't know no better. Just like when you go to McDonald's and you get that Coke, you know what I'm saying? You're sipping that Coke from McDonald's, it tastes good, but you don't know that you're getting all those nanobots, and that McDonald's Coke is fire. We don't know, you know what I'm saying? But now we do. And what we do with this information, is for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research on everything.
Verse 10, when the third angel let forth the peal of his trumpet, a great star burning like a brilliant torch plummeted from the sky. It crashed into a third of the rivers and the sources of all fresh water. And the name of the star was Absinthe. Some translations might read it as wormwood. Absinthos is the literal is the Greek. And a third of all the fresh water became poisonous, as if contaminated with absinthe. And many people perished from that water. Now you might be asking yourself, what's the significance of a third of this, a third of that? I can't really answer definitively. I think John is just giving a rough estimation based off of what he sees. There's a lot of death and destruction, but less than half of all things. Anyways, let's continue on.
Do planets exist? That's a hot topic right now. Are planets biblical? The first point I want to make is this. I've seen planets with my own eyes. You don't need NASA to see planets. All you need is a telescope. But even if you don't believe me in that, and you're like, where does it say it in the Bible? You go to Jude 1:13, you see where it says wandering stars. The Greek word there is the word planetes. And that's in link with our word planet. But that's still not clear enough for you? You go to 2 Kings 23:5, God is rebuking them through this writing because they worship the sun, which is real. They worship the moon, which is real. And what's that word right there? Planet. They worship planets, which are real. So the Bible mentions planets at least twice. It even alludes to Venus multiple times.
So we have wandering stars, and it kind of makes you think, you know, if demons lose their power and they fall like leaves from a tree, then what's holding these wandering stars up? What's the significance in that? Drop in the comments below your thoughts.
First option they give us. Well, if we look in Genesis 1, in verse 14, it says, "And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and for years." But notice what it says, "and let them be for signs." So God made lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. Remember, 12 signs was another option it was giving us. But notice what it's saying. The operative word there is not signs, it's lights. So these planets that people have this idea that they're this terrestrial plane, what they actually are lights. According to the Bible, they are lights. So they're not out in this fake thing called space. They're within the firmament of the heaven, and they're to give light upon the earth. Another important point to make about why it's called the 12 signs, instead of basing, calendars on the moon as the Bible does, what they do is they'll base it, that's where you get like astrology signs. So like Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and they base it on the orbit of the planet. So they take that orbit, divide it into 12, because 360 degrees, which is a circle, is completely easily divided into 12. And each little orbit they take as a new sign, and they use those to worship the hosts of heaven, the 12 signs. Then the other option was constellations. So the other synonym for planets was constellations. And mind you, this is God's word. This is not just something I'm taking off the internet. The word constellation comes up one time, and it's in Isaiah 13, verse 10. And it says, "For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine." So what I want you to see here is the Bible says the stars of heaven, and this is the only time the word constellation is used. So it's saying it's different than the stars. So I'm not saying there's no such thing as planets. I'm just saying planets are not what you think they are. They're just balls of light, according to the Bible. Remember, the Bible has to be your main authority. Remember, we went over in Genesis 1 that they were all given for signs and seasons and to give light upon the earth. So all of those objects are no longer giving light. The sun is not giving light, the moon is not giving light, the stars are not giving light, and the constellations. So what that means is that planets are light givers. They give light just like stars do. They give light just like the sun does. That's the first option they give us. Well, if we look in
That was interesting that they said the moon was she, so the moon is a female. We might have to dive into that. The moon being a female? That's interesting.
My cell phone mounted onto that apparatus right there.
Hold on. If this is a star, and they're saying this is this an actual seraphim, where it has eyes around it, and look, it has wheels around it as well, a wheel within a wheel. Those kind of look like eyes going around, y'all. Look at it again.
That's the first option.
But this is my telescope. I had my cell phone mounted on my telescope, okay? It's Bob the Star. All right. This is my cell phone mounted onto that apparatus right there. You see that? The phone mounts onto that. There's the telescope. And see this star. Here we go. See that little speck right there? That looks like a grain of salt? That right there is the fake star that somebody said in the chat that we're looking at. Well, that is not fake. This is TikTok live back on the telly. You can see through the eyepiece. There it is. You can see right in the center of it. See that blue dot? That's what it is. So we're going to go back. And here we go. There it is.
This is an angel. I'm 100% convinced this is an angel now. Wow. I got goosebumps. You guys see that? I got goosebumps. That is an angel. What more proof do you need? In the book of John, it said some people need to see the actual hole in his hand. I get it. I didn't need to see this, but I believe. I need that telescope, y'all. Before I was saving for a drone, but I might take that drone phone and go straight to that telescope. And I need to be doing live so we can do this together. I'm pointing that telescope at the moon. I'm pointing it at stars. I'm going to get that same apparatus he has. I'm telling you guys right now. This same apparatus he has. If you guys know what that's called, the cell phone holder on the telescope, all that, link it to me. I'm buying it. And we're going live together. We're reading that book that we were diving into. This right here. Let me save this. This is a biblical accurate angel. They don't want to show it. Please show it. This is a biblical accurate angel, y'all. Zooming in. Matter of fact, let me screenshot it. Because I'll screenshot it and then Google reverse image that contraption. And we're going live, bucko. Quick screenshot that boy. And I'm gonna order this. I'm gonna order that telescope. I'm ordering that phone holder. And we're gonna be doing that live. Cause I'm gonna line it at every single star. I'm gonna go to the darkest sky part. And I've always had a passion for stars, the moon. Growing up, they had me going with all those different nebulas and the stars turn into different dwarfs and all that, man. We're going to go through there. Be looking for that on my future lives. I'm going to get the entire setup.
Our Father, which art in heaven.
Initiations are Osirian initiations of a specific degree. Now, remember, what I was going to tell you earlier, that all of this stuff was the lesser knowledge. Solomon called it the lesser grimoire. He was talking about that the netherworld was like, basically, it wasn't necessarily something to aspire for. That it wasn't the shit. It wasn't like the highest level that you can reach. That everything here was basically like broke magic. And it holds to this day. Like when you read these magical books and stuff they be talking about doing and getting, it's like, man, why would you even do that, man? Like you're just like scum anyway. You probably need to go wherever that stuff is eventually going to send you. So when you come back, you'll actually know what you really had.
I wonder why I never heard of the wisdom of Solomon. It's outrageous that I had to hear about the lesser keys of Solomon before the wisdom of Solomon. Let me guys know your thoughts below.
King Solomon's warning about women. Ever wondered what King Solomon, the wisest man in the Bible, said about women? And trust me, it's not what you might expect. As the author of Proverbs, Solomon had a lot to say about life, including his insights on relationships with women. Let's break down his top warnings and what they really mean for us today. Proverbs 5:6 says, "Her path is unstable. You do not know it." Solomon warns against the seductive and deceitful person who may lead you away from wisdom. It's all about staying spiritually vigilant, about women committing adultery and being unfaithful. Proverbs 5:3-4 describes, "For the lips of an adulterous woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil, but in the end she is bitter as gall, sharp as a double-edged sword." Solomon warns that while the allure of an unfaithful woman may be sweet and enticing at first, ultimately, it leads to bitterness and pain, much like a double-edged sword that cuts both ways. In Proverbs 6:24-26, "Keeping you from the immoral woman, from the smooth tongue of the wayward wife. Do not lust in your heart after her beauty, or let her captivate you with her eyes." Here, Solomon cautions against being captivated by beauty and charm, which can lead to personal ruin. Proverbs 7:27 says, "Her house is a highway to the grave, leading down to the chambers of death." The unfaithful woman's path is depicted as destructive, leading to spiritual death and ruin. Solomon uses strong imagery to emphasize the seriousness of the consequences of infidelity. In Proverbs 31, he flips the script by praising the virtues of a wise and faithful woman. He describes her as more valuable than rubies, strong, dignified, and fears the Lord. It's a shout out to the power of righteous women. But Solomon's real warning? It's about the influence those around us have on our spiritual path. Whether male or female, the people we choose to let into our lives can lead us towards wisdom or away from it. Drop amen if you love God, and follow me to watch more videos. God bless you. King Solomon's warning about women. Ever wondered what King Solomon, the wisest man in the Bible...
I didn't know Solomon wrote Proverbs. I know, y'all. I'm trying my best here, all right? I'm trying to pick up the pieces, you know?
King Solomon's influence on Western ceremonial magic comes from the belief that King Solomon did King Solomon's influence on Western ceremonial magic comes from the belief that King Solomon did not control demons through the power of God, but instead controlled them and binded them through the use of complex ceremonial magic, using the subtle energies of the planets in alignment with certain days of the year, mixed with sigils or certain angels and demons' names, to call these beings forth to do their bidding or to ask them questions. And these practices became more popular around the 1700s. And with the release of books such as the Lesser Key of Solomon and the Greater Key of Solomon, books that list the sigils of the demons Solomon captured in the Testament of Solomon, and mixing it with ancient rituals that stretch back into antiquity. The belief that one can call forth beings or the gods is way more ancient than Solomon himself, but he is credited to be the one that perfected and mastered that skill.
There's a story in the Bible where Solomon goes into dream state and God comes to him in dream state and he says, anything that you want, I will give you. You want wealth? I'll give you wealth. If you want kingdoms? I'll give you the kingdoms. Tell me whatever it is that you want and I'll give it to you. And Solomon didn't ask for riches, didn't ask for kingdoms. He asked for one thing. He said, give me wisdom. And God gave him wisdom. After that, the riches came, the kingdoms came. So as I read that, sat there, I was like, God, give me wisdom. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what this means. And from that, everything else would come. And I think it's working. Seems like it is. There's a story in the Bible where Solomon goes into dream state and God comes to him.
Solomon is known as the prophet Solomon. And just like most of the stories about Solomon, he is given divine wisdom and knowledge. He served the Most High so well in the Quran that the Most High gave him the ability to communicate with animals, gave him the control over jinn or demons, allowing him to bind the jinn and put them to work in whatever use he saw fit. The Most High also gave him knowledge of the seen and unseen. So his army was made up of animals, jinn, and men. And it is said that his true wealth was unmeasurable. He was even given control of the wind. The story of the Prophet Solomon in Islam is so beautiful, because no matter how many gifts Solomon received from the Most High, he remained humble and gracious. He was respectful and just to all of his subjects. He despised the use of black magic, and always gave the Most High the credit for his gifts.
Wisdom of Solomon is a must read. So pick up your Apocrypha.
Why did God allow Solomon to have 1,000 wives and concubines? Why did God allow Solomon to have 1,000 wives and concubines? Solomon was known for his wisdom, but he was also known for his wealth and power. God may have wanted to see if Solomon would remain faithful to him, even when he had everything he could ever want. God was using Solomon to fulfill his plan for the nation of Israel. Solomon's many wives and concubines came from many different nations. This would have helped to spread the influence of Israel to other nations. It is also possible that God was allowing Solomon to indulge in his own desires, even though he knew that it would lead to Solomon's downfall. Solomon's many wives and concubines eventually led him away from God and into idolatry. This shows that even when God allows us to have what we want, it does not mean that it is good for us. The Bible does not endorse Solomon's lifestyle. In fact, the Bible warns against polygamy and adultery. Solomon's story warns about the dangers of sin and the importance of faithfulness to God.
I remember a while ago there was a verse saying that a man with a good heart only has eyes for one, but I could not find it. Maybe you guys could help me find that verse.
Crazy obsession for women. King Solomon, the epitome of wisdom, possessed an obsession that defies imagination, a staggering 700 wives and 300 concubines, an awe-inspiring 1,000 women in his domain. Now brace yourselves for the mathematics of devotion. To maintain his passion, he would need to embrace 3 different women every single day. This is devotion on a scale beyond comprehension. Things take a dark turn when Solomon's older brother, Adonijah, asks for Abishag, a stunning, beautiful virgin nurse who took care of their father David before his death. As the tale unfolds, we witness an earth-shattering twist. Solomon's lust for Abishag was so intense that he ordered the execution of his own brother on the same day. This obsession knows no boundaries. Crazy obsession for women. King Solomon,
There's a story.
King Solomon, considered the wisest of all kings to ever rule among the kingdoms of men. And yet, even he did outlandish woman cause to sin. You see, King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. These were nations God specifically forbade him to marry, as these strange women would turn his heart from following the one true God of heaven. King Solomon clave unto them in love. With 700 wives, princesses of royal families, each one in beauty and form flawless. In addition, he also had 300 concubines, all of whom would eventually turn his heart away from following God. For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, And his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David, his father. And so King Solomon, who was beloved of his God, and among many nations was there no king like him, nevertheless even him did outlandish women cause to sin.
And the Lord sent Nathan unto David. And he came unto him, and said unto him,
Here were 2 men in one city, the one rich, and the other poor. The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing, save one little ewe lamb, which he had bought and nourished up. And it grew up together with him, and with his children. It did eat of his own meat, and drank of his own cup, and lay in his bosom, and was unto him as a daughter. And there came a traveler unto the rich man, and he spared to take of his own flock, and of his own herd, to dress for the wayfaring man that was come unto him, but took the poor man's lamb, and dressed it for the man that was come to him.
And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man, and he said to Nathan,
As the Lord liveth, the man that hath done this thing shall surely die, and he shall restore the lamb fourfold, because he did this thing, and because he had no pity.
And Nathan said to David,
Thou art the man. Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. And I gave thee thy master's house, and thy master's wives into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things. Wherefore hast thou despised the commandment of the Lord, to do evil in his sight? Thou hast killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and hast taken his wife to be thy wife, and hast slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house, and I will take thy wives before thine eyes, and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of this sun. For thou didst it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel, and before the sun.
And David said unto Nathan,
I have sinned against the Lord.
And Nathan said unto David,
The Lord also hath put away thy sin. Thou shalt not die.
I like that. That was smooth. Gave it like a little anime twist to it. I like that, man.
To analyze the evidence and then to follow the evidence. Adolf Hitler never died. He died in Brazil of old age. Steve Jobs didn't die when they said he died. They cloned him. Steve Jobs was last seen in 2014 in Brazil. Still kind of sick because they can't stop the sickness. But he was still alive. Yes, they cloned Steve Jobs. They cloned Microsoft man, Bill Gates. All them guys been cloned. So a lot of times, that's not necessarily the real Bill Gates. The real Bill Gates, they working his brain to death in a lab. He ain't came up yet. He's underground. See, when they put you under these deep hypnosis, you don't even be submissive. You just do what they tell you. Oprah Winfrey is on the MLK, and that's not the real Oprah. That's not the real Lenny Kravitz. Now, Chris Brown hasn't been cloned, but since he's been talking so much, they're going to clone him. And I believe they clone him when he's in the Philippines. But we'll see. Because Chris Brown is so outspoken, he may just tell it like it is if he can get in his right mind. But when Chris Brown was in the Philippines, they might have cloned him. Now, who is Chris Brown's handler to get him cloned and chipped? Rihanna. Now, notice that Chris right now when they start putting people around you every other day, that's not Chris Brown. That's a reptile in Chris Brown that's controlling him. In other words, that's a demigod, that's a demon of alien descent, but it's really reptilia, which is like a lizard, but they have to live in human format. And we'll know, how do you know that Chris is a clone? Because he's going to have somebody with him 24/7. He can't be alone. Whenever a celebrity has to have somebody living with them, that's because the clone can't work by itself. It has to have somebody with them. And what struck me really weird when Rihanna said that she wants to be at Chris Brown's hearing when he gets ready to do his child support. I thought that was kind of weird. Rihanna is Chris Brown's handler. And she's been told that this is not real Chris Brown. This is going to be his who? Cloning. 85% of the people in America do not watch TV no more. They don't. Everybody's online now. So they try to bring regular TV onto YouTube and make you.
I don't go anywhere without this. This is my traffic book right here. And if you read down below, public servant officer, it pretty much says to him, when a cop pulls me over, you're losing potato chips. But when a cop pulls me over, the first thing I do is I ask him, what's your emergency and how may I assist you? And he's going to ask for my driver's license and insurance or whatever. And I said, well, before we go there, I need you to fill this out. And I take that sheet of paper out of there and hand it to him. Before we can go any further, you need to fill this out. Once he reads this, it already puts him on notice that I'm not playing games with him. Then you open up the book. And that is so pointless. And here's the case I won against Harris County. Harris County, I always take my name out because I'm not going to give my name until you can give me what's called, and police always call it, it's RAS. What's your RAS? And they automatically assume I'm a cop because I'm using their lingo. And what RAS stands for, reasonable articulable suspicion that I've committed a crime. Okay? You don't have that? Okay, what's your SAF? Single articulable fact. Well, you don't have that either? Okay, you've just basically said that there's no reason to pull me over because you haven't seen a crime. Okay, here's the case I won against Harris County. You can see the stamps and date. And they ended up buying me a brand new Porsche 911 Turbo all-wheel drive convertible with them pulling me over and letting me spend a night in jail. So and here's the lawsuit, and I've got these for everybody to see. And you can see that it's all put together. There it is, signed by the DA and stamped, showing they lost the case.
And they lost it, and they paid
and
you
I
what?
sued them.
And what did you win?
$250,000 for a night in jail. And then Supreme Court says no license necessary to drive an automobile public highways. Now these are all documented. So what this is called stare decisis. Okay, we're running a case that's already been won in the Supreme Court, and they're in violation of their oath of office when they don't pay attention. My license plate doesn't give you, if you look at my license plate, the license plate alone says I'm not in commerce. Now, if I have a license plate like this car over here and that car over there, they all have license plates. License plates mean I'm engaged in commerce. I'm not engaged in commerce. This doesn't give them the authority to pull me over because they see that. Where do you see that I'm engaged in commerce? What gave you that suspicion that I'm engaged in commerce? You have the right to travel freely unencumbered. And that's all in the law. And we look at the law books, Supreme Court has already ruled on this. And you go back to what is a license. And I want people to do their own homework. Go read the case of Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, or read the case of, Shuttlesworth versus the city of Birmingham, Alabama. These are showing that you don't need a license. A license is to do something that is immoral, that's sanctioned by the government, like a 007, license to kill, okay? That's immoral. They need to be licensed by the state. In other words, they're protected by the state on that. There's nothing immoral about leaving my house to go get a gallon of milk. I only need a license if I'm using the public property. The roadways are public, and they're paid for by the gas tax, okay? They're not paid for by traffic violations. So when you get into the law, this is what scares most cops, and I'm going to get to it here if the wind would stop for 1 second. This is what most cops don't like because they don't know it. It's non-emergency use of emergency vehicle lights and sirens is a felony. Pulling me over for a traffic violation, they just committed a felony. And if they don't have reasonable suspicion that I'm engaged in commerce, they're done. And I'll bring out my brother's. I'm going to put this away real quick. I want to bring State Trooper. This was his book that he had in his car. Okay. Texas Criminal and Traffic Law Manual. I went to his car and I made him read this. And you're going to love this. This is out of their own law books. This is the LexisNexis. And it says under section 502.003, registration by political subdivision prohibited, except as provided by subsection B. A political subdivision of this state may not require an owner of a motor vehicle to register the vehicle, pay a motor vehicle registration fee, or pay occupational tax or license fee in the connection with the motor vehicle. This section does not affect the authority of a municipality to, right here, license and regulate the use of a motor vehicle for compensation. So if I'm not engaged in compensation, being paid to go from point A to point B, I don't need a driver's license. I don't need to register my automobile. And it is an
What about
automobile.
Massachusetts?
All traffic codes are pretty similar because they're all federal. They're pretty much the
Is
same.
a copy of Massachusetts
You can
online?
find it, and I will tell you, go to like Amazon or eBay and buy a used one. My brother had to pay $300 for this book. Okay, and then you look at it here. Imposed a permit fee or street rental charge for the operation of each motor vehicle, okay, used to transport passengers for compensation. So who needs a driver's license? A taxi driver? Anybody that's engaged in making money using the public.
For what I'm about to present in this video. I really don't.
The right to travel. I wonder if I need a license for this submersible to go in these dark waters. Drop in the comments y'all thoughts below. That's why on these waters I tell you guys to eat the meat and spit out the bones. You know, you might hear something that you don't agree with. That's okay. You ignore that. You spit out the bones. But when you come across something on this video that really sticks, digest that, eat it. Use your discernment. Keep your sword and shield on you at all times.
Every temptation is a chance to tell God you love him, but overcoming temptation is very difficult. The Bible says resist the devil and he will flee, but how many times have we tried that and failed anyways? We see that in the desert, Jesus resisted the devil, but he did it very specifically, and he did it 3 times in a row. The devil came at him with out of context scripture, and Christ used scripture in context, not just what it said, but what it means. Next time you struggle with temptation, I want you to think of it like an escape room. The Bible promises us that every temptation will be given an escape route, and scripture is always going to be involved as that key to unlock the doors. But sometimes those keys are hidden, like in an escape room. Whenever a king speaks something, it becomes law. This is why Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. The king, like Daniel, didn't want to throw him in, but people had tricked the king into saying something and decreeing it into law, and the king himself had to follow his own law. The same is true of God's promises. Because God is the king of the universe, his words are the law of the universe. This is why we can trust in God's promises, because he...
And real quick, I wanted to say, King's word is law kind of reminded me when that dancer, what happened to John, you know? He said, I'll do whatever you want to the, what was the king's name? Was it Hagrid? Whatever king that had John captive is the one I'm talking about. For the name of the king escapes me now, but someone, I guess if I remember correctly, the king said, I'll do whatever you want. And they made an outlandish request, and the king had to honor it.
Because he is a sovereign king, and so what he says becomes law as he speaks it. And so we can be 100% assured that if God says in his word there is a way out of the temptation, there definitely is. But again, Jesus resisted the devil 3 times and with scripture in context. So next time the devil tempts you, I want you to think of it as like a big closet, and you're looking around for the keys to unlock the door. Those keys are going to be scriptures, but you're going to have to search for them to find it. You're going to have to work through the problem, but be assured there is a way out. Fight for it. Pray for help. Just like in an escape room, you can ask for hints. Talk to the whole...
Do you guys see this? Have you guys heard about this place? Look at that. Natural Museum. Hold on, go back. Natural Museum of the Republic. We gotta type that in. National Museum. I bet you they got some artifacts for your behind there. Like, it's kind of giving me Genghis Khan, you know, Kazakhstan, Genghis Khan, you know, they sound like they not far from each other, you know? And Genghis Khan was what? The leader of Tartaria, you know? So it's like the similarities are adding up. For entertainment purposes only. Wow, and they got a whole mountain behind them. Talk about where the angels might have landed. I don't know. All right, guys, this is Kazakhstan. And here is Tartaria's old map. So it could be a strong possibility that we are looking at the capital of Tartaria. We're going to dive in more.
Walk inside. The central part of the city is Nurjol Boulevard, which translates as Greenwater Boulevard. Let's take a walk along the boulevard. It's 2.2 kilometers long. It's nice. Lots of beautiful flower beds and different installations.
Привет.
And the main attraction is, of course, the Baytarek.
Behind me is an observation tower, and it's called Baytarek. And it's probably one of the most recognized symbols of Nur Sultan. It's 105 meters high.
And it symbolizes a mythical tree of life and a magical bird of happiness named Samruk. Nearby you'll find the presidential residence with an excellent park around it, and the parliament building.
Пожалуйста, подождите.
And if you walk the other way, you will stumble upon a building that may remind you of Atlantis Hotel in Dubai.
This building behind me, it reminds me of Atlantis Hotel in Dubai. But here, it's just a building that belongs to one of the oil and gas companies. You know, because Kazakhstan is one of the major oil and gas producers. What are you buying?
Just water because it's too hot outside.
Just water.
On Nurjol Boulevard, it's always crowded and there's always something going on.
Расскажите, чем вам нравится Нур-Султан?
Нур-Султан мне понравился, он прям... Здесь такие высотные, красивые здания. Прям дизайн, мне вот это все понравилось. Потом понравился Байтерек. Я его в дневнике на обложке смотрела. А вживую вообще так супер прям. Впечатлений очень много, конечно. Я приехала с Алматы. Вот на 3 дня решила я. Я всю жизнь мечтала здесь побывать, и вот я здесь.
The most famous shopping mall of the city is Han Shatir.
Han Shatir was designed by the world-famous Norman Foster, who's also famous for Cucumber Building in London City and Pineapple Building back in my hometown of Yekaterinburg.
The name means the king among the tents. It's hands down the largest tent in the world if anyone's competing. Inside, you'll find a lot of food courts, a movie theater, and even a water park. Pretty unexpected, I know. Another popular walking area in the city is the Ishim River Promenade. It's a pedestrian area with a lot of street musicians, restaurants, and a very unusual 300-meter long bridge in the form of a sturgeon. Let's walk inside.
Habibi, welcome to Kazakhstan.
I'm gonna use every heartbeat. Staying at tomorrow. I'm diving in so deep. Far from shallow. Baby, I'm all about it.
Pondering the origins of giant craters. It's common to attribute these vast voids to asteroids, but hold that thought. There are around 200 craters scattered across the globe. Intriguingly, this mirrors the count of fallen angels, said to have been dispatched from the heavens. Now buckle up for the twist. Nestled in Kazakhstan, a pyramid stands tall. At the top, 200 aligned seats. The location, a city named Astana. Rearrange the letters and Astana eerily spells out Satan. So is this mere coincidence or a cosmic riddle waiting to be solved? As we navigate this vast universe, the unknown often beckons us. So keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, not everything is as it seems. Pondering the origins.
Welcome to Astana, Kazakhstan.
Today is 1st May 2024, and guess what? It's snowing in Astana. It's snowing right now on 1st May, which is supposed to be almost summer, but nobody can predict Astana weather as usual. So, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Astana. Today is
But that's all I got for today's episode. If you made it this far, the code word is fallen angels. Type fallen angels in the comments so I know you're a real one and you made it all the way through. You watched this video from beginning to end, and that really helps me out, y'all, and I appreciate that. Be sure you leave a like and you're subscribed. If you're on the fence about subscribing, I understand. If you're new around here, I got a lot of other interesting videos. I do this daily. I see y'all at the same time, same place, in between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. I try to do it earlier on the weekends, and I'm just grateful to have all you guys on these waters with me, man. It's truly a blessing, and we're going to keep diving into these interesting theories. I love this stuff, like these artifacts. I can do this all day, but I only get 24 hours in the day, and yeah, I just want to thank you guys for jumping on these waters, and I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow, same place, same time. Peace out.